So we're recording. Wow, everybody keeps arriving now. That's fantastic. We're at 16. Yay! I'll do another picture in a minute. So short story long, Lindsay and I met. She came up with a graphic mock-up of what she thought my website might look like. It was absolutely spectacular. We loved it. She made it a summer project while her children were off school, just to sort of prove her worth to me. And 5 years on, we are making the most spectacular websites for people. We have the most incredible campaigns. She is that void in the left side of my brain that everybody needs. And I am very blessed to have it, called Lindsay.
Thank you.
We know each other like family these days. And she has the keys to my credit card, whatever, anything that needs to get done, she can do it. I trust her that much. So for me to be able to sort of pull her out of a project and bring her into the room, it's for a specific reason. Because Lindsay gets blogging, dare I say this, better than me? That's good. I get it, but she totally gets it. And she'll show you some amazing work that she's done for the people. Groundbreaking transformation in certain communities. And the whole idea behind today is to just inspire you to write content. And we're also going to give you some ninja tips on how to get that shared, how to get that focused. And we're at 17 people now. That's awesome. And then when we do virtual coffee on Thursday, 18. This is awesome. We'll then go even deeper on how to find those topics. I was blogging with Dr. Peter last night at 10 p.m. PST, which was 6 a.m., whatever it was, Germany time, just helping him get through this mind block of blogging. And we did it. So it's not easy. We know that. But my goodness, when it's done right, it's done brilliantly well. So, yeah. So, Lindsay, I'm going to let you become the host of the page. Probably the best way to do it that way around. And
Thank you. It's so nice to see such a big group and everybody here to listen to blogging. It's not usually everyone's favorite thing to do, but there is so much you can get from it. So I hope you'll get some ideas from me. Hi, and I'm just going to ask really quickly, if you have any questions, please jot them down. If you're coming into the session with lots of questions in your head and you want some of them answered, we can try to get them at the end. And if not, you can definitely tag me in the Facebook group afterwards and I will get back to you. So I'm going to launch into my presentation because it takes about an hour to get through it. All right.
I'm just busy. I was going to mute everybody, but then I realized I'd mute you too. So manually muting people. I think we're good.
Thank you. Great. All right. Let's make sure I share the right desktop. And there we go. And hopefully everyone sees a big laptop on the screen. Okay, so let's roll up our sleeves and get blogging. A quick about me, although Jonathan gave me a great introduction, I would really like to meet me. This is what I do. I help business owners create beautiful websites with powerful content, not just the design. I do website strategy for We Make Stuff Happen. I also work independently in some writing projects. And my focus on the web is website strategy, copywriting, and content development. So if your website is up, but it's not really converting people, this is the kind of thing that we can help with as well. And Jonathan posted my little quiz, I noticed in the email. So there's 3 things here that are true and 1 thing that's not true. The number 1, I previously worked as a business reporter, is true. My background's in journalism, so I love telling that story. Number 2, I was a partner in a construction company for 5 years, and I understand business extremely well, I feel, and I love it. Number 3, I did not start a web design company after university, even though I could have. I had the chops, and I just didn't. And number 4, I manage a blog that has over 25,000 Facebook followers, and it does a lot of good in the world. I'll give you a quick preview of that in a few minutes. So there you go. If you guessed number 3 was wrong, you would be correct. our agenda for today. So first of all, we're going to get into blogging as a strategy for growing your business. We'll talk about what to blog about. SEO plays into blogging, so I'll just give you a quick little view of what that looks like. And then we'll talk about writing your actual blog post, and finally, blogging strategically. So number one, blogging as a strategy in your business. So what does it do? Well, what do you struggle with the most in your marketing? These are some of the common struggles that people have: getting traffic to their site, getting people's attention, how to sell more, make more money, develop a brand that stands out, how to fit in all that social media that Jonathan's asking you to do on top of it, and get your email newsletter out every month. That's a lot on your plate. And I will show you by the end of this a system that you can use to tie everything up so that when you're blogging, you're using that content in more than one way, and it's very useful. Blogging builds relationships, so it establishes you as somebody that you have some space on the internet, you have a platform, and people who like what you're saying will gravitate to you. So it connects with your ideal customer. It develops a high level of trust with your ideal customer if they can always come back to you to hear more. It converts readers to buyers, which is really important on your website. Lots of people spend lots of money on search engine traffic, and not necessarily remembering that when the people get to the website, it has a job to do. It needs to convert them. Number 5, it creates a business asset, which is content that you can use, reuse, and leverage. And number 6, it makes you more findable. So yes, it helps with that SEO. The search engine rankings. It's great for that. We'll get into all of those, but here's a quote. So Darren Rowse was one of the original bloggers on the internet, and definitely the first person to figure out how to make really good money blogging in 2009. And he basically says it's all about the like, know, and trust. And I'm sure you've heard that from Jonathan, because that is where we stand on it too. Darren says it's the regular contact, the personal aspect of blogging that really helps people to like you. Then over time, they come to trust you. So when you're out there on social media and you're building up your like and your know and your trust when you're on social media, you're needing to do the same thing and be that same person when you blog. So some people get really, really worried about what to blog about or how to blog, what voice to blog in. And really, it's the same thing that you're doing on social media, just a little bit bigger. Does anybody have any questions right now, or are you with me? Let me know. Maybe Jonathan can catch the chat box if anything comes up. All right, blogging strategy 101. So use your blog as the center of your entire social strategy. Believe it or not, you can do it this way, and it's very systematic. People who are interested in hiring you or working with you, they're bound to check out your website. So if you're creating content, your blog, they'll find something great when they go to your website. Your blog posts keep people on your website for longer and can get them interested in your company. The content that you build up on your blog, you can repurpose everywhere. Sharing blog posts on social media, as we know, attracts traffic from social media and builds backlinks to your site, which is great for SEO. And great blog posts will continue to get shares and traffic long after you've written them. So even though you wrote a blog post 2 years ago, it's still putting those keywords out there for Google. People are still reading it, and it's lasting as long as you want it to last. Okay, so the key is to create regular content with searchable text that you host on your website. So you can go back, you can go and create, instead of blogging, you might say, I'm not a writer, I don't want to write, but I love doing videos, or I'm fine with doing slideshows. All of those are completely viable. They're just alternatives to blogs, and the same strategy applies as it does to the written blog. If you're doing videos or audio or images, you need to include text along with them, because that text is what the search engines are reading. They're not watching your video, they're not listening to your audio, but they are checking the words on your website. So videos, slideshows, and audios with text You could also do customer case studies. A lot of companies find it easier to write about work they've done. That's a very viable blog post. Or you could host regular resources on your website. So you could do interviews, you could do lists of resources, you could do tutorials. All these things fit under the umbrella of content creation. So when we're talking about blogging, you can definitely think outside the box. And the key is to be consistent and blog often. So your ideal blogging frequency, checking the research out there, the ideal frequency seems to be about once a week at least, and then you keep people involved. Otherwise, they do forget about you. There are lots of people competing for this online space. All right, so hopefully I've convinced you that blogging is important in your strategy. Now the question is what to blog about. So Seth Godin, lovely quote, "Marketing is no longer about the stuff you sell, but about the stories you tell." So this blogging, this content creation is the key to building up that whole story in your marketing. And everything you do, your social media, everything else can come right back to what you're saying on your blog post. It all connects. So the number one thing to do is write a lot about the core problem that you solve for your ideal customer. You show that you understand their pain. What do they want help with? What are they searching for? What's the big problem that you solve for them? People read blog posts for takeaways and action ideas that they can do. So what takeaways could you provide to your client base? If you don't know where to start, think about this. What questions do your clients have before they buy from you? What are they searching for and doing research about? And write posts that will come up in their searches. Ask your customers what they want to know and tailor content to their needs. So you can actually do an in-store survey or an email survey. Find out what their key pain points are and write about those. And then it's always about tracking. Everything you do on the internet is about tracking, and blogging is too. So keep track of your best performing blog posts, the ones that get the most shares on social media or the most comments, and do more of those. And that's where you grow your blog strategically. So we write different blog posts for different stages of the buying cycle. So people are coming to your website in different stages of readiness. Some of them are kicking tires and they're just looking around and they're really not serious. Other ones are researching their options. And finally, there's ones who are ready to hire you. They want to choose a solution and they will buy from you with just a little bit more information. So if you consider it that way, you'll be considering blog posts for each of these different buying stages. So some blog posts more to introduce yourself and your company and your solution, and other ones to get really serious about why you're different, why you stand out, why you're more trustworthy. So there's a different variety there. And blogging builds relationships. So blogging builds that like, know, trust factor that we talk about. Blogging helps you get found. If you use SEO strategies, it really helps you get found on Google. You can start your blog post using keywords and long tail keywords and think about what your ideal client is searching for. Blogging also helps you with increasing your likability. We all enjoy people hearing from people that we relate to. So personal stories, face-to-face inspirational stories, free resources, and that sort of thing helps increase your likability on the blog. Blogging helps you get known. So if you create short or appealing content or resources that people like and they want to share, then it'll spread that natural reach of your blog posts. When you're doing this sort of thing, thinking about a really catchy headline and a great featured image really helps make people want to share your blog posts. And building trust. So blog helps you show your expertise and build authority. You can share proof, share case studies, portfolio pieces, sample content, testimonials, anything you can think of that is hard proof or anecdotal proof of your work. And if you can't do that, you can always teach people how to do things. So if you know how to do something really well Showing people how to do that will build up that trust as well. So those are the 4 key things that you want to be building with your blog posts. And clearly different blog posts will work for different reasons. And never forget that what's simple to you may not be simple to your audience. So going back to basics with your blog posts is really appropriate. This quote from Darren Rouse again, many bloggers fail to realize what they know and consider basic is actually advanced to many of their readers. So starting in the beginner's mind really helps. All right, here's just a little example of a blog post that we did for one of our clients, Elite Kitchen, EliteKitchenCenter.com. It's giving people the inside scoop. So this was quite a long article that just went through what they include in a sales quote, because their sales quotes are more in-depth, more complete, and more guaranteed than other kitchen companies. They went through and actually demonstrated these are the things to look for in a sales quote. And if somebody's not giving you this in a sales quote, then you need to ask them for that information. Excuse me for a second. The blog post itself we sent out over over their email newsletter, the entire thing, and it actually resulted in several direct sales just from this one post. So it was very much worth the time spent on it. And a little bit of controversy always helps. I love this with my journalist background. The things that are most newsworthy are the ones that people are talking about. So really thinking about where is a little bit of controversy in your industry and not being sleazy in any way, but talking about it, talking about the elephant in the room. So this blog that I have with 25,000 Facebook subscribers is about a child who is a teenager who has ADHD, and it's his day-to-day story. The post that we did in 2015 now about ADHD medication is still one of the most shared posts that he wrote and gets the most traffic to it. So it's kind of amazing. When we first put it out, it got 144 comments on the site and almost 1,000 shares on Facebook. It had tens of thousands of views. So it was very powerful because it connected with something controversial that's in the news. CBC Radio actually spoke to him about ADHD medications after this. He just hit a vein about what people are talking about. So it was great. And if you still don't know what to write about, here are a few more ideas. Start here. List the top 10 to 20 questions that your customers want answers to when you deal with them in your store or in your business. If there are themes that keep coming up, those are ones that could be blogged about on your website. Try this. If you've already created marketing material, live streams, videos, emails, brochures, any kind of package or welcome package or marketing material you've already got, it could possibly be repurposed into a blog post pretty easily. If you have lots, then you might have lots of content just sitting on your desk. You can brainstorm about what you love talking about. So if you really have a passion in your business, that might be the thing that differentiates you from the next company. And it's perfectly okay to be passionate and talking about the one thing that you really stand for when you write your blog posts. So what are your favorite services or products? Why are they? What difference have you made in your customers' lives? For some people, this is really strong, and it makes your persona so much different than the other guy. And keep track of things, of course, right? So what do people like hearing from you already? So if you have a social media following, which posts, which themes are getting the best engagement from your audience? That could be a good way to start blogging. Or if you have a real world store, what conversations do you have with your customers? So always going back to what are you hearing from people? Can you write about it? All right. I hope everything's sitting with everyone okay. I'm not seeing any questions, but I don't know where the chat box is. So we'll keep going. So our next theme was about using SEO in your blog posts, and I'm going to give you an introduction. You can definitely find some tools and high-level things to get deep into SEO, but I don't think you need to start there. This is where I think you need to make sure that you're covering your bases, though. So get found. Writing your blog posts with search engines in mind, and don't forget that SEO is only one strategy. Don't sacrifice your blog post content for keywords. So hiring someone off Fiverr to write you keyword-rich blog posts isn't a winning strategy, because when your customers get to your website, what are they going to get? They're not going to get the best of you. They're not going to get your high-quality thoughts or your industry knowledge. Those are the things that really convert people to buy from you. So providing great value is still #1 priority, and it actually helps you rank better in Google over time. So SEO is about choosing the best keywords that your ideal customer might be searching for and making it clear to the search engines that your site is a great resource for those keywords. Some strategies are: make a list of your most important keywords, keep a list of questions that your customers ask you, use a variety of keyword types, and we'll look at that in a minute, and pick a different keyword for each blog post and optimize each blog post around a keyword. So we talked about keyword variants. It's not very complicated. It's just, instead of repeating the same single word or 2 words over and over and over the same way, use all the different variations. So if you're talking about medical advice, use other words like healthcare advice, doctor's advice, use them regularly. Or childcare would be childcare center, preschool, daycare. An executive coach would say business coach, business expert, business advisor. Just varying them up is completely helpful for keyword strategy. And long tail keywords. So long tail keywords sounds complicated, and it's not. It's just full sentences or phrases that your customers are going to be typing into the search engines when they have that big problem that you help them with. So I'll give you some examples from a website that is an amazing example of nailing the long-term keyword strategy. It's called River Pools and Spas. So this is basically their FAQ page, but it works the same way as a blog page because each one is a different section or a different page. So he went and found out all of the questions that people ask and research before they buy a pool. And then he wrote each one of them down and wrote an article about each one of them, which is an excellent strategy, very simple and very doable for most business owners. And then he's got them all in this one page. And each one of these is a full question that people type into Google, which makes it a long tail keyword. So if you have any questions about that, you can actually take a look at it. The URL is at the bottom here. It's riverpoolsandspas.com, all written out, /pool-101-pricing. And again, I'll leave a link to the PDF version of this talk afterwards, and you can go back and take a look at anything that I went over a little quickly. Okay, keyword research. So the next thing to know is that, yes, you've got lots of keywords in your head, and you have lots of ideas from your customers, and those are important. The third leg of that strategy, though, is you can do keyword research. So actually purposefully finding other keywords that customers might be typing into search engines when they have a big problem that you solve. It works well when you start with your own list of keywords and then look for additional ideas. So keep track of these keywords as ideas for future blog posts or use them in your current post. So it's a great idea to have a spreadsheet or a list somewhere of all the keywords that you intend to target. And when one comes to your mind or you see it on the web, then add it to your list. So a couple of quick tips for keyword research. If you type in your main keyword or long tail keyword, and then you scroll down to the bottom of the Google search results, you can find the keyword variants. So we talked about keyword variants as being different synonyms for a keyword, and Google will suggest a whole bunch to you. So that's a great way to turn your list of 10 keywords into 50 or 70 keywords right away. You can also use programs that give you feedback, including Google Trends, You can use your Google Analytics if you understand how to use it. It's not terribly complicated. And maybe Jonathan will be interested in doing a session about Google Analytics. And you can also use social media. You can type in keywords to your social search and see what comes up and get ideas from there too. So what people are talking about is what you would find. So those are a few simple ways of finding more keywords and building a list of keywords that you can blog about. But how do you use your keywords? That's the next question. So we have a really simple system that we have standardized across all the websites that we build, and we cover these 6 things, and we use a specific plugin that everybody loves. So using your keywords, there are 6 places to put your keywords in your blog post. So the first one is the title, then there's the meta description, and your headings in the blog, and I will show you those. The body of your blog post, but you never want it to spoil the natural flow of what you're saying. Otherwise, people turn off. They're used to seeing spammy stuff, and that comes off as spammy. Adding alt tags to your images, and adding links in your post. So that's your cheat sheet for every blog. You make sure that these 6 things are optimized for your keyword SEO. So here's a typical search engine listing, and I'll show you the different parts of it. So we just talked about the 6 things to optimize. The first one was title. So the title is this blue. It says Langley Daycare Preschool Childcare here. You can optimize that for your website and each page and each blog post, which is what we're talking about now. And people read this, and robots read this, and this is what they use very strongly to rank you in the search engine. It depends. If somebody searches for certain keywords, if those keywords come up in your blog title, then boom, you're a match. So make sure you include a good keyword or keyword phrase. And if you happen to be the most recent blog post written about that keyword, you have a very high likelihood of getting featured higher, especially if you're doing quite a good job of social sharing and sharing on Google+. And then you have your meta description here. So this black part is actually what people read. And you're not talking to the robots, you're talking to the people. They have a page of listings in front of them, and they're picking which one to click on, and they're reading this black part. So it can actually be quite marketing. It can be very promotionally written, or it can be written in a way that appeals to people. So definitely write in your voice, and you can even include a call to action or a hint at some freebie that you might have. And the plugin that we use to do this in WordPress is Yoast SEO. So if you have a different SEO plugin, it probably has the same things, the same features, except for Yoast SEO gives you excellent feedback on everything that you're doing with it. So you edit, you click on this, and it's a slightly different interface now, but it's very similar. So you basically click on this and you edit your blue title and you edit your black meta description. And if your title is good, this green part will probably be good too. It just wants to have the keyword in it. So I don't think that you should be touching the slug, it's called, which is the URL of your blog post, unless you feel like you're an expert. And then you type in the focus keyword. So whatever keyword that you want this post to rank for, you type it into this focus keyword slot, and then it will calculate for you how well you're doing for that keyword. And it gives you a content analysis with all these color-coded dots. And they're very useful, actually. There's a lot of good insight from it. It's quite great. So when you type a focus keyword in, it's ranking your post for you to see how well you do. So you could type in one keyword and then try a different keyword and see how well you're doing for a couple of keywords. That score is just for your personal education. And all of the content analysis that it gives you, also, over time, you'll become a pro at it because it gives you all the details. So that's the deal with optimizing your blog post for SEO. And if you just get in the habit of doing it every time, it's very doable. Okay, so the last thing, or the fourth thing, is how to structure your blog post. So now we're going to get into the writing style just a little bit. This is my jam because I did this a lot in previous work as a reporter and at school as a writer. So here we go. So the structure of a blog post. So you want to start with a share-worthy headline, a headline that's catchy, that demands attention, because this is what encourages people to share your blog post. If the headline's kind of dull, it's really worth spending the time to work on that part. A lot of people scan over the text of your blog post. The one thing that has the most impact is actually the headlines. And then you have an introduction, and in the beginning of your blog post, let them know the benefit or that takeaway they're going to get from reading this blog post. So right up front, don't hide it down below, which people tend to do. That's too subtle. This is marketing. Be very clear and direct with your messaging. So in the beginning, read this blog post. The takeaway is that you're going to learn how to make whatever it is. Main body. So your main body isn't terribly long. It's 2 to 4 main points. And ideally, you're using subtitles on those sections. And then a conclusion. The key takeaway from this article, once again, in your conclusion. So focusing on the benefit that your reader would have received from the post. And then always, 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 somewhere in the bottom is a call to action, either before or after the conclusion, telling them the next step they can take to get better at this thing that you just explained to them. So maybe you have a mastermind group that they can sign up for, or maybe a coaching session, just 1 hour, and you'll help them solve this problem. But a really direct call to action that hits the goal that they had when they were reading this blog post. And it might be inviting them to your newsletter. That's a very reasonable thing to do. But maybe write a little sentence about why this person, this reader, would want to read your newsletter. So if it's a blog post about writing blogs, if I invite you to read my newsletter, I want to tell you that you're going to learn more about writing blogs if you read my newsletter. So just tying that call to action into what they just read. And that helps with conversion, asking them to sign up for something similar to get more similar benefits. Okay, so for headlines, here's a great quote from David Ogilvy, one of the fathers of advertising. On average, 5 times as many people read the headlines as read the body copy. So this is telling you something. So reading these ones on the right-hand side, which one's more interesting? The first headline is How I Learned to Fall Asleep in Under 1 Minute. And the second one is what most of us would do, How to Fall Asleep Fast. That sounds good, but the first one is more descriptive, more direct, more actionable. It makes you feel like it's really something that you can learn from this guy. So using numbers and clear benefits in your headlines makes a big difference. Studies by content marketers, and also we did this in journalism too. They show that you have about 6 words to get a reader's attention, so a very short headline. You can expand on it in that first paragraph, but really hone that headline down. Focus on an easy win or a clear benefit in your headline. It takes practice to get good at this, so try writing a lot of versions of your headlines and selecting the strongest one. And headlines can be difficult, so you can try writing it first. You can also try writing it last after you have all the content in place. Here are a few examples. I'm sure you've seen things like this around. Headlines that demand attention. So how-tos are huge rankers. Step-by-step guides. 7 steps to doing something, or any number of steps. The number is very helpful because it's very actionable. A big list of, an ultimate guide to, or being more specific with your topic or audience. So not just writing about blogging, but writing about blogging for beginners. Not social media, but social media for coaches. Just getting very specific about who the audience is. So does anyone have any questions about headlines? Just let Jonathan know in the comments and we'll keep going. Here's a fun tool that I think is wonderful, and if you read all the feedback it gives you, it's fabulous way to learn. It's called the Headline Analyzer. It's from CoSchedule. The URL is coschedule.com/headline-analyzer. And again, I'll make these notes available to you after the session, so not to worry. So an action item that you might want to do after today's session is test out 10 different headlines for the next blog post you write and pick the one that you think is strongest. And feel free to share this and tag me and get some feedback from Jonathan or me in the Facebook group. This is something that if you can nail the headlines, you'll get more readers, more click-throughs, and more shares. And a headline cheat sheet. So keeping a list of the most effective headlines that you read so that you have a template to use when you write your next blog post. So again, you'll have a list of your SEO keywords and you'll grow that. And another list you can grow is your headlines. You can just pick someone else's headline and repurpose it for your needs if you think it's catchy. All right, making a persuasive introduction. So how do we write? It's really important to write as though you were talking to someone. So writing in that personal voice you would use if they walked into your store, instead of getting really formal, which people have a tendency to do. Using the same language that you use with clients. So if you have a sales process, you probably have specific words that you use, and those can come back and be in your blog posts. So not to be salesy, it's very common for bloggers to really try to pitch their things in blog posts. That's not why people read them. People are reading them to get a takeaway, an action item that they can do. You can tell stories, absolutely, that demonstrate your point and get people to relate and engage with your blog posts just by being human in them. So again, another great reason to be careful if you ask someone else to write your blogs for you, just be careful that they're on the same page as you are. How to write a great intro. You can start with a story, as we discussed, or an anecdote. You use your personal voice. How would you talk to someone on the phone? Remember that clear benefit. Tell them exactly what they're going to get from reading this post. I've seen people, I think Gary Vaynerchuk, they write how long the post is going to take to read. So this is a 4-minute read. This is a 7-minute read. I love that. I'm busy. I value my time, and I love seeing someone else values my time as well. And start with another technique is to start with building your credibility. So if you can drop a big name, a big event, add a statistic, a number, or some research, doing that right up front really gets people's attention. And of course, focus on the reader. So if it's at all appropriate, it's great to use the pronoun you a lot and speak directly to people in that first person, second person. Make it snappy with readability. So your blog posts are judged on how readable they are. Google wants to know if they're readable. People want to know if they're readable. So how do you do that? We'll get a little bit into it. First of all, to know your word count on your blog post. It doesn't have to be very long. 300 words minimum. My kids are in high school and they write minimum 500 words almost every day. So that couldn't be too bad. Build in some longer anchor posts though. So because you want to build your expertise and you want to build your platform, try to get a few blog posts every quarter that are at least 800 to 1,000 words long, and they go into more detail. Those get more traction, but you can't always be producing that much content. So just to find that balance that works for you. And the recommendation is 1 image per 150 words as a general average. So 1 or 2 pictures in most blog posts and you're good to go. And of course, always making sure you have alt text on your images. I don't know if we get into that later, but if you have questions about that, do ask in the group. So readability, the body of your post needs to be easy to scan. When people are reading quickly, short paragraphs work really well, and short words. So a grade 6 reading level is often advised. I've even seen recently people saying go for a grade 3 reading level just because we're all reading so quickly and so much on the web. So keep it very simple. Use plain words. Use subtitles. So each section of your blog post can have a subtitle, and use header 2 usually. Header 2 formatting, sometimes header 3 formatting. That's in the WordPress post editor. Use other formatting. So use bold text lists or block quotes wherever it's appropriate, and it really breaks it up and makes it easier to scan. Make your paragraphs shorter, 1 to 2 sentences usually. So it's not English class. We don't need big paragraphs. People read more of your post if they see that it's going to be easy to read. And remember to add keywords where they make sense naturally. So again, here's just a visual of making it easy to scan. So on the left-hand side is one of our clients' old websites. We've recently relaunched them with a beautiful new website, but their blog posts were looking all jammed up, like giant blocks of text. You'd really have to work to read that, or at least that's what it looks like, even though it's excellent information. Over on the right-hand side, we've got a double-spaced blog post. We have bold. We have heading 2, header 2, with those subtitles. Everything is just really easy to read, lots of white space. It makes a big difference for the reader. So just keep that in mind. And I've talked a lot about heading 2 and heading 3 formats. Actually, I still have this slide here. I thought I had gotten rid of it. But this shows you exactly where to put in a heading 2 or a heading 3 in WordPress. So if you're in the WordPress post editor, you may only see the top line of icons here, and you may have different ones than I do depending on your theme. But you always have this one. It looks a bit like the front page of an old newspaper. If you click on this, it will open up the next line of options. And on the left-hand side, you can pick paragraph, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 formatting. I would advise against getting really fancy with that, but just use heading 2 or heading 3 from time to time. And use it hierarchically. So mostly use heading 2 because it tells Google, actually Google scans your thing and it tells Google how your page is structured and how it's organized. So it's very helpful. All right, and check for spelling and grammar mistakes. So avoid common grammar and spelling mistakes unless you're making them on purpose. Maybe you're writing like a teenager. And get proofreading help if you need it. So run it past a friend or try this really simple app. It's called HemingwayApp.com. It's spelled HemingwayApp.com. You just cut all your text off your page and you paste it all here, and it will highlight problems for you. So it's super handy. There's also an app called Grammarly, which is great in the free version, and I don't recommend the paid version. But so there are tools out there to help you with your proofreading if you find that that's something that would make sense for you. All right, so hopefully that helps with some of your writing technicalities. Reinforcing value in your conclusion. This is something that a lot of people don't do. They don't necessarily think of doing. But writing a blog post, the structure really is a lot like those high school essays where you wrote an intro, 3 paragraphs, and then you wrote a conclusion. It's very similar. And when you write your conclusion, if you reinforce the takeaway, the last thing that a reader who reads the whole post is going to read is that conclusion. So make it easy for them to remember and encourage them to share the main points or the main takeaway. You can even add a plugin like Click to Tweet, which can help you add a ready-made tweet at the bottom of your blog post. So depending on how your Twitter strategy is, that might be something fun to add to your blog posts. And as we discussed earlier, don't forget to ask for action. So a call to action, don't leave readers without a next step. This is a great chance. You've got them listening to you, reading from you. Make the most of that time that you've got with them. You can also ask them to check out a related blog post, which is very handy. You keep them on your site for longer and they get more from you. Or contribute an idea to the discussion in the comments if you're using those comments. Opt-ins are great. Sign up to get something free and valuable and of course related to what you just blogged about. And think about what would move them further in your sales funnel or in your buying cycle or in the like, know, and trust equation. Is there a next step for somebody who just got introduced to you? And then maybe you can put that as your call to action. All right, so next thing that we're going to talk about is some strategies for getting this done. So if blogging is something that you don't know how to fit into your day, you might consider that it could be the center of your strategy instead of just one more thing. So forgive the messy graphic here, but if you plan your blog posts for the month, so that's that top left corner there, then you move around in the circle, you increase your blog post value. So you link to other pages on your site You add resources or downloads if you have them. You add an email opt-in. The next thing you do is you optimize for search engines. So you use your keyword strategies that we talked about. You can measure your blog post with Google Analytics. And then you share it on social media. So you get comments and you get feedback and you pay attention to how much engagement your blog posts are getting. Make sure that you optimize your photo and your headline so that it's more shareable. You can also reshare on social media. So a different approach to your blog post a month later, a different time of day. Resharing is super helpful. And so if you have 20 blog posts, you could easily get a lot more mileage out of them than just sharing them each once. But then after you've written your blogs, take that content and use it again. So use it for more social sharing, use it for your email newsletters, and use it to write new blog posts. So write a follow-up post or a series of posts when you find something that's really getting people's attention. So as a circle, it gives you fodder for your social media sharing. It gives you things that you can talk about and that you can write about in your newsletter. So if you use your blog post first, everything else can just follow from that. And we do that with our clients. We help them syndicate their content this way. All right, so somebody asked about strategies to get blogging done, and hopefully now that you see blogging can be really important as a strategy in your business, hopefully it's something that you'll be able to prioritize. So the first tip is to realizing the impact it can have and then prioritizing it. You can choose a prime time for writing when your energy is high. I've had clients who try to write their blog posts on red-eye flights to Japan or, when they're in the hotel room at a conference. But realistically, if you have like a miracle morning and you make your coffee and you do your exercise, maybe that's a great time when your ideas are flowing to start a blog post. You can always come back to it at the end of the day and look at it and add more ideas, but making it a priority in your day. Just writing is hard for a lot of people. It's not necessarily something that's comfortable for you. So one thing to do is just to write all your ideas as a first draft and not worry how messy it is or how much it makes sense or not, because you can edit and reorganize your content afterwards, but get it all out, get all your ideas out. Trying to post once a week on a specific schedule can be helpful for some people. Practice writing every day to build a habit. So going back to it every day at a certain time over, a month, and maybe you'll get that habit going. Maybe that's the way that works for you. Writing in batches works for lots of people. You can sit down and do a 4-hour morning, write 4 blog posts, decide how you're going to put those into social media, decide how you're going to use those for your email newsletter, and just make that your content morning. Another idea is to keep a journal, a list, or an inspiration board. I use Trello and Wunderlist. I also keep all my ideas in one file in Google Docs. So as I'm writing little bits here and there, I just throw them all into one document, and then I can go back to them later on. And another thing is that we're playing with the creative process here. So just trying to force yourself to do it isn't necessarily going to work. Sometimes stepping away from it, walking the dog, having a shower will give you a chance to come up with great ideas. So it's okay to procrastinate when it comes to creativity, as long as you go back to it. And again, I'm all for keeping it organized. So keeping track of ideas, keeping track of your blog posts. You can create an editorial calendar so you have a schedule. You can do that on Google. There are also a couple of plugins that are great for doing that on WordPress. You can use Google Analytics and your social media stats and reactions to see which posts are popular and keep on doing more of them. So the more information you can get from what you've already done, the better prepared you are to keep moving forward. Here are some great sites for ideas and inspiration. These sites, ironically, are all built around blogs and content. So their huge amount of blog posts really gives them status as a great resource for entrepreneurs. So CoSchedule, HubSpot, Copyblogger, Smart Passive Income, and ProBlogger are some places that you could start looking into blogging. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. This is another Darren Rowse quote. 99% of great bloggers are not awesome on day one. Their awesomeness is the accumulation of the value they create over time. So go out there and be awesome with your blogging over time. So I'm going to leave you again with a challenge. I welcome you. I'll put up a post in the Facebook group encouraging this. Write a list of your top 10 questions that customers ask you or clients would ask. Pick one to write this week. Write the blog post. Try out a bunch of headlines and share in the Facebook group. Tag me for feedback and I'll get back to you on it. And hopefully a few people will take me up on the offer and you can learn from each other as well. So I can get you a PDF copy of this presentation. Please email me, lindsay@wemakestufhappen.com if you would like one of those. And that's it, folks. So I'm just going to go back and open it up to questions. If anyone has any questions. So, Jonathan, did you get any texts or questions along the way?
As we're going along.
Okay.
I think Elaine has her hand up already.
Excellent.
So I write a lot and I have tons of content and I've also been making a ton of videos, but I have never tried to the combination. And like when I think about it, my head explodes. So I'm like, I don't even know where to start. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. So you're creating a ton of videos, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't start by writing something that you have. I wouldn't start by trying to take on something wholly new.
Okay.
I would get them transcribed. That's what Jonathan's been doing with a couple of his videos, a couple of clients. We have a couple of contacts for you if you talk to him about it. And even get 2 or 3 of them transcribed, the ones that you think would make good blog posts. And then when you get the transcription, don't just throw it up. Go over it and then start.
Okay, and then, so when I send that out, would it have the video with it too, or no? You would just have the blog?
No, absolutely. Having the video too is great. So
Video too. Okay.
the more media you have, the better.
Okay, because that helps. Because I was trying to like combine the two, and I was like, that could be crazy. Okay.
It is crazy. On the other hand, if you feel there's something you're passionate about that's like boiling up in you and you want to write about it, this is your platform. And that's how you develop yourself as a thought leader, is by really fleshing out that message that you're passionate about.
Okay. That at least will give me a start. Okay, cool.
And remembering too, Elaine, that those videos that you put on Facebook Live only stay on Facebook. So then repurposing that same video into YouTube.
Right.
And then transcribing it and putting it on your blog, that's giving you 3 hits from the same material straight away.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Now, I've seen some video transcription done that was not well done. Somebody put it up on their site and no person would probably want to read that. So just taking a quick proofread and maybe putting some subtitles or just making sure that it's readable, I think would be great.
And like transcribe, like rev.com, like have you guys used them?
All the time.
Okay.
I normally get mine back now within about 20 minutes. And then they're almost like 98% accurate.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Okay.
Could be because of my British accent, but you know.
I sound like a valley girl when I'm nervous, but you know, I can edit that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. So does everyone else is okay, and we're all going to do the challenge, and I'll see you all this week on the Facebook group. Anyone else have questions?
I got a question, Lindsay.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time doing the posts through Facebook and no blogs. Is there way more value in doing the blogs than the posts, or can you do a post and send it to the blog?
Yeah, we definitely advise if you can syndicate your content, which is the same idea as a columnist on the radio in previous years, even now. They have not just content in one place, but they have it on 20 radio stations at once. So if you write a little bit on Facebook and you can expand on it for your blog, that's great. Then you have a bit of a teaser on Facebook. But you could do it the other way around as well. You can do your blog post first, depending on what works for you, and then share it with teasers on Facebook.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Kelly,
I see you now.
can't hear you though.
You hear the typing.
You're unmuted.
Bye, Elaine.
Thank you. I'm sorry I have to go. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
And everybody's got a link to Elaine's webinar for tomorrow, actually, in the group too. So do join her for that, because she was awesome last week.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I switched my microphone. What is alt text when you're talking about photos?
Sure. So I can put a little, I'll make a note of it and I'll put a little screenshot for you. Are you using WordPress?
I honestly, I don't know. I use Weebly to make my site, so I don't know if that's WordPress or not.
No, it's not WordPress. It's a great way to start. Anything is a great way to start. And I'm sure it's so basic for SEO that I'm sure they'll have a way to do it. So I can add a way to do it in WordPress and it'll probably connect with you, but if it doesn't, I would definitely search on their website.
What is it though? Like, is it just adding keywords to an image? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so it's actually accessibility. So it's for the search engines, but it's also for people who can't read. Sorry, maybe for people who can't read, but more for people who can't see your images. So blind people who are using a screen reader. So they want to know what's on your image. They don't want to know keyword, keyword, keyword is all I'm saying. I'm all for the keywords, but also keeping your customers in the loop. Or people on their mobile device where it's loading really slowly or something like that.
So if you had a picture of somebody on a phone, you would describe it and say somebody on a phone?
Yeah, client on a phone. But if you have, let's say the blog post is about building a house, client inquiring about building a house over the phone.
Okay. Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And Google rewards you for those alt tags.
And you wouldn't believe the number of websites that we get from people when they haven't used those, and it's a big deal. All right, great. So if that's all the questions, I'll pass the mic back to Jonathan, and I look forward to seeing you all online this week.
That's awesome.
Thanks for the great comments. I appreciate it.
So now you can see why Lindsay is head of our web design and content team, huh? Not only that, she is a single mom with 3 amazing children who have ukulele bands and dirt biking and any number of cooking classes that she does, and how she does it all, I still am in awe.
Thank you.
It's great. So on Thursday, what we'll do is we'll analyze some blog posts. If anybody's got any written by between now and then, we'd love to do that. If you have some already that you've written that you'd like us to go back and rework. And just because you wrote a blog post 6 months ago doesn't make it dead. You can go back, you can change the keyword, you can change the title, you can change some images and refresh it. Google will love you for doing that. And then some of these blog posts become evergreen. So you can create blog posts that you can recycle every quarter, every year. And as long as you don't copy the same thing twice, you can get so much mileage out of these blog posts, it's insane. And if you ever want to write a book, chances are most of the blog posts that you write become the core product of your book as well.
Yeah. And that's a really good point about bringing up an old blog post. So if you don't have time to put together a new blog post this week, but you have a relevant old blog post, you can do that too. You could share that in the group and make that one really sparkle.
Just so you know too, when we build people's websites, one of the strategy sessions that we do in the building out is that our clients get to do a blogging one-on-one with Lindsay, where she might help them sort of craft the very first 10 blogs and co-write them with you and work that through so that when your website's released, you've not just got like 1 or 2 or 3. 3 is great to start, but have a bunch in the bank ready so that we don't publish them all on day one, but over that first 6, 7, 10 weeks or so, we've already got content ready to put out, and that becomes the core of the content marketing strategy for inbound links to the website. And you like doing that a lot. So yes, if you need help, we can help there too.
I do, definitely.
All right. So we've just gone 3 o'clock Pacific time.
Good.
6 on the East Coast. Any other questions for Lindsay while she's here? We meet Thursday at 10 o'clock. Our next Inner Circle is March 7th. And one of the other counterparts that Lindsay and I work with is a fellow called Willie Grieve. And Willie is a Google certified SEO expert. And Willie will be doing the next Inner Circle on very specifically about how you use your website and content to get found on Google. Of course, blogging is a big part of that. So that's our next Inner Circle, which you're all going to be at, which we're excited. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific, I think it is, 2 o'clock, this time really, Elaine Williams, who was our speaker last week, is doing her own webinar. So it'd be great to be able to sign up and support her in that. It's a big deal for her to put herself out and sell herself in a very different way. So we're strongly supporting her in that, which we're excited about. So hope you can join us for that. And then Inner Circle on Thursdays at 10 o'clock. And then next week, would you believe, is week 5 already of this boot camp. That's the last week. And that's what we call #Excite, where we take all of these ideas and we put it into a cohesive strategy so that we can get out there, and we're going to look at how we do advertising on social media to get found beyond the organic reach, and also how you take some of those social media contexts and turn them into sales through lead pages and quizzes and contests, and get them into lists, which is really quite often where the business really gets done. Exciting stuff. All this in 1 hour, my friend. High five.
Yeah. Yay. I have one question, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You mentioned that on Thursday we would be able to get some feedback on a blog post. How do we give that to you?
That's a great question. So ideally, if you just copy and paste the blog post title into the Facebook group so we can see them, that would be the ideal way for us to have a look at them in advance. Lindsay, can you join us?
Yeah, Thursday at 10?
Yeah.
I can.
Yay!
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Good. So what I can do is put up a post in the Facebook group inviting you to comment on it with your blog post. And that'll keep it kind of clean, if that works for you, Jonathan.
Yep.
And then if you have your blog post on your website, link to it. If you have it not on your website, you can upload a file, or I prefer a link to a Google Doc.
Yeah. Just had a question from Doug about Inner Circle. Normally Inner Circle is this slot, Tuesdays on a Thursday. It only moves when we're doing boot camp. Once a month, every quarter, Inner Circle jumps to a Thursday, but next month we're back to Tuesdays, which is our regular slot. And you all get 3 months of Inner Circle for being here, so that's pretty exciting. I tell you, I get so much energy out of just seeing like this whole screen full of smiley people. It is awesome. Love it. Love it.
Jonathan, I have one question about how I see people's pictures of themselves on this actual webinar, gathering here, because everybody's picture is sort of blurry except for mine. Is that because I'm looking at it directly through my camera and everybody else is, I'm getting it through their broadband? Because even you look really blurry.
I do?
Yeah.
I have a 1080p camera.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know why. It must be my service then that isn't.
It could be.
Me. Yeah.
It's either your internet speed, most likely internet speed, or it could be your device.
Yeah. Everybody's so laid back in Santa Barbara that they're just chilling out and they don't need to be
That's right.
Andy, when I see you, it says your bandwidth is low. So that's probably why you can't see everybody else's very clearly.
Oh, great. Thank you. Well, I'm going to kick that like 3 notches so that I actually see people more clearly. But thank you for helping me figure that out, because I didn't know why.
No problem at all. Yeah. Everybody's, some people are not as crisp on my viewing. I actually have my router and my computer like 2 feet apart, and it's hardwired into my computer. I don't use wireless. I have Shaw Broadband 150, which is the fastest broadband you can get. And I have a 1080p camera over and above my computer. So I try and make the delivery as quick and as crisp and fast as possible. So there's very little lag. And that's how I do it. Okay, folks, you don't want to leave, do you? This is awesome. But that's what the
Gotta
Facebook
go.
group
Thank
is.
you.
So we're always in touch. And yeah, blogging is where it's at, my people. It's where it's at. Okay, I'm going to cut the ties. Gurjeet, I got your text. I will give you a call. And thank you, everybody, so much. And Lindsay, thank you, my darling. Talk to you again on Thursday and see you in the group.